welcome to Tourism Today, where we talk about all things travel and tourism for Yakima, Yakima Valley, and even places beyond. And today we're going to talk about our state film industry. Joining me is Amy Lillard, who's the Executive Director of Washington Filmworks. Amy, welcome.
Well, thank you so much. It's nice to be back in Yakima.
Glad to have you on the show. And yes, you've been here before. You've talked to various groups and organizations, as well as I know our organization has hosted you around at locations and other ways to get to know the Valley. But for our viewers, let's kind of start on the basics of what is Washington Filmworks?
Washington Filmworks is a legislatively commissioned nonprofit organization whose mission is to support economic development opportunities in the film industry. And so that takes various shapes and forms. However, we have kind of two divisions that we talk a lot about. We have a $3.5 million fund to facilitate production all over the state. And then we also run the official state film office. So we get over 300 calls in a year just from people looking for information about how to film here, locations, permits, all that kind of stuff. And so we see quite a bit of activity through that division as well. But you know, what we try and do is we try to create a sustainable film industry in Washington state.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about both those activities, but to kind of set the stage, what does the film industry mean for either residents of Yakima or anywhere in the state as far as jobs and economic impact for local as well as statewide?
Well, there are lots of states across the country that pursue motion picture production because it is such a lucrative industry. If you look at any budget for a typical project, about 50% of that budget goes to hiring local workers, and the other 50% goes to spending money with the local businesses. And so, you know, we like to see that activity happen all over the state. What's interesting about film production is that you think it's about film businesses like camera houses and things like that, but in actuality, only 5% of a typical budget will go to film business. The rest of it hits all kinds of businesses, hotels, rental cars, hardware stores, lumber, like all kinds of things. And so it really does hit all of the economy. If you're looking at just the economic impact of the incentive program, which is that $3.5 million fund, over the last, since launching in 2007, we have financially supported 122 projects that have hired 21,000 workers in the state, and they've spent about $134 million directly in our communities across the state.
Yeah, and that's pretty substantial. I know from our experience here in Yakima on the Valley, for example, in Dubious Battle, yes, which was a James Franco-led production that came here about 3 years ago, actually coming up on 4 years ago, and we worked with them on a number of things from looking for locations as well as the various amenities. And you do see the impact when they come to town because they are staying at hotels, they may need to get equipment on site, extras for the production. You never know. It all depends on what their needs are and how it means for that community. And it varies town by town.
Well, I think that is such, like in Dubious Battle is such a great example of, how we work with communities in that we got this phone call from this production, and we did steal this one from Hollywood. I'm happy to always say that, but they were looking for apple orchards, and of course instantly in our office we always think of this area for agricultural opportunities. And so just by us working together and getting that production here, they were here for about 10 days and spent $350,000 in the community within that 10-day window.
That's no small change.
Yeah, it was truly like the producers had an incredible time and just wrote this love letter to us after the production that Yakima was just the greatest place to be. So
that's good to hear. As you mentioned before, it's a very competitive business.
Yes.
States and provinces in Canada actively pursue this business with incentives and such. But when it comes to Washington State, since $3.5 million is limited, it's not a lot. I mean, some of those states are spending 10 times that amount to get film production.
Absolutely.
What do we do differently with our funds? How is it different than other states?
Well, Interestingly, when we started FilmWorks, we were the 6th incentive in the country to come online. And since that time, it's like capped out, I think, at 42 states. We're back down to about 35 to 36 last time I counted. But what we decided to do just recently, we just announced this new program at Washington FilmWorks called Local Lens. And we announced it in March. And we became the first production incentive in the country to go what we call all local. And so we reserve our funds exclusively for projects that are creatively driven by Washington residents. And so if you have a local writer, director, producer, those all help you qualify for this new program. And the reason why we did that is because we know by investing in those local creative types that they not only bring that incentive project, but they generate a whole lot of other work. Not only that, but we have so far this year approved 7 film projects under that new umbrella, and it really does help solidify and really amplify this idea that Washington State is, just this incredible place for creativity. We are garnering this national reputation to be an indie film capital of the country and maybe even the world, right? Because we have all of this incredible content coming out of this place where we live.
And I think by doing that, you're helping to build the industry up. Rather than people coming from outside the area to do the work, it's creating jobs for our local residents throughout the state. So to close, what do you see, what's your vision for the film industry in the next 10 years? Where would you like to see us go in the future?
I mean, there's so many opportunities that are unique to Washington. Having been in the film commissioner now for 12 years, I've seen so much change and opportunity in the film industry. What I'm particularly interested and excited about right now is the fact that distribution paradigms are changing daily. So when I first started this job, we were talking about movies of the week for television, and now we have all these streaming services, right? So there's so much content being made and so much opportunity for our local filmmakers, not just to make film here, but to really be breakout, nationally leading filmmakers that are recognized for their creativity, because there are all of these new distribution paradigms. So interestingly, I'm much more optimistic now than I was, 12 years ago. I think we are perfectly positioned to really, become this global hub for creativity.
Great. Well, we appreciate you coming over and spending some time and talking to us. And if you're interested in learning more about Washington FilmWorks, we'll have a website for you to go to get more information. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
For more information about today's tourism topic on the film industry in Washington State, be sure to visit www.washingtonfilmworks.org. Wonder what's happening in the Yakima Valley? Go to visityakima.com or call the Yakima Valley Tourism Office at 509-575-3010.